All right, let's complete number 2. It says plot the following points and their opposites on the number line and label them. So we have 3 numbers. If we're plotting those and their opposites, we should end up with a total of 6 points. Right? So I'm going to start off with the -2. I'm going to plot -2. I can clearly see it's right here. It says label it. So I'm going to put the -2 there just so I can clearly show. And then it's opposite. So I know the opposite of -2 is 2, right? Same distance from 0. That is the opposite. All right, I'm going to do another color since I have that option. -1.5. Now, I see a lot of people making a mistake on this one because remember, negatives are opposite rules. So a lot of people are wanting to put it in between 0 and 1. But remember, 1.5, that's in between 1 and 2, right? If you had a sibling that was 1.5 years old, they would be older than 1 but younger than 2. So that would be right here directly in between -1 and -2, right? And that's -1.5, which is the same as 1.5. And then, of course, oops, that is not right. Of course, on this side over here, in between 1 and 2, I'm going to have my +1.5 right here. All right? And then last one is 2.5. So +2.5, of course, is going to be in between 2 and 3 over here. And then -2.5, once again, is going to be in between 2 and 3. So -2 and -3 over here, and that is -2.5. So I just plotted all 6 points, right? Those points and their opposites. That is the first part. Now we are moving on to these true and false. Don't forget it says explain your reasoning in all caps for a reason because it's important, and if you don't, you will not get points. So the value of -1 is greater than -1.5. So, well, luckily, how great is it we have this integer number line right above to reference. So remember, as values get greater, as they move to the right, they get greater, right? And as they move to the left, they get smaller, they're less. All right, so I can just actually look at those 2 values on the number line. I can clearly see -1 and -1.5, right? I'm going to underline them for you. -1's right here, -1.5 we just identified is right there. So which value is more to the right? It's -1. -1 is clearly greater, right? So the value of -1 is greater. That is true. And you can use whatever explanation you prefer as long as you can back your knowledge. So I know in class sometimes we talk about comparing money with negatives. Where like, would you rather owe someone $1 or $1.50? If you wanted to give that in your explanation, amazing. If you wanted to use a number line or something else, that's totally fine as well. So I'm going to say -1 is greater because it is closer to 0 on the number line. And if you wanted to talk about owing money or whatever, you definitely can. Just support that with something. All right, so this next one, the value of -1 and 4/7 is less than the value of -1 and 9/12. A lot of you, when we were doing the practice in class and working on this, I saw just saying true or false and saying it's closer to 0. You won't truly know unless you get common denominators. So remember, in this case, I have the same whole number, so I'm going to focus just on the fractions. I'm going to do butterfly method, right? I have 4/7 and I have 9/12. I need to get common denominators. All right, so I'm going to do the butterfly method here. And I'm going to multiply my diagonals and create new fractions. Don't forget, these stay negative because those are originally negatives. So 4 times 12, that is 48. 7 times 12, that is 84. Oops, what just happened? All right, and 9 times 7 is 63. And 7 times 12, once again, is 84. All right, and now I can compare these two numbers, right? They're negative, so opposite rules. I can just focus on the numerator since the denominator is the same. So just focus on that top number. -48 and -63, which one's bigger? -48, right? I would rather owe someone $48 compared to $63. So this is saying that is less than, but we can clearly see from this it is greater than instead. So this is false. And I'm just going to support it with a few words, but I just did the math. I'm going to say the math shows it is greater. So let your math speak for itself and then just give me a little tiny sentence and then you're good. I can see right there the math shows it's greater, right? Last one from this, it says the value of -2 and 5/6 is less than the value of -2 and 25 over 30. Focus on the numbers. Once again, we have two of the same whole numbers, so I'm going to focus on the fraction. I'm going to cross out those two, but don't forget the negative did not go away. So I have 5/6 and I have 25 over 30. All right, so I am going to multiply those diagonals. Don't forget, I like to add the antennas because then you know what goes on which side, right? I see a lot of times people putting something on the incorrect side. So I'm going to multiply what's in this little circled area right here, which is 5 times 30. I know 5 times 3 is 15. So that would be, just add a 0, 150. And then 25 times 6, right? If I had 6 quarters, that would make $1.50, right? 4 makes $1, and then the 2 more makes 50 cents. So that is also 150. And then 6 times 30 is 18. Add a 0, that's 180. Notice, both of these are negative 150 over 180. So is the value of -2 and 5/6 less than the value of -2 and 25/30? No, obviously they are equal. And once again, I'm just going to put a little sentence. The math shows they are equal. And of course, that makes this false, right? All right, I expect to see the math like this on your test. So please do not write me a sentence of this one's less or this one's greater. That's not an explanation, right? I need to see math or something to support, especially with fractions. I need to see common denominators. They aren't ones that you can just tell by looking at. All right, so I'm telling you right now, I need to see work like this on your test, whether you use the butterfly method or another method to get common denominators or simplify a fraction to get common denominators. As long as you can show me getting common denominators and then comparing, that will be good enough, all right? But I need you to do that. Thank you.